Alright, so this is Ray, and I'm the Wednesday guy. Hold on, let me take my glasses off because it makes like reflects and it makes my eyes look like TV screens. Anyway, I'm kind of doing this last second because I had a really busy day and I've had like no free time where I've been uninterrupted. So I'm literally doing this right before I go to bed. Anyway, this week's topic is pretty much about relationships, coming out, um, how to go about introductions and meeting new people. And the reality is that when I'm meeting new people, I don't really have to tell them I'm trans. Unless it's like a circumstance where I'm with a old group of friends, like people who knew me before and I guess don't know. Most of the time, my friends will say like, "Oh, you know, Ray's coming over. He used to be so and so in high school." So this way, people somewhat know who I am, because otherwise we'd be complete strangers. It's a little awkward, especially when I'm going to parties and things like that. Um, I kind of prefer not to be introduced that way. I'd rather be a stranger and be introduced as Ray, and then have people like figure it out on their own, because a lot of times I get that, oh wait, that guy looks really familiar. Um, so I kind of prefer like going about it not right off the starting gate. Because in my experience, what I've seen is that if you're introduced as male and it's kind of just like all fluent, people don't look for things to contradict you. They don't look for things that make you feminine. If they think you're male, they automatically keep just seeing you as male, and it's just a cycle where they don't really question. However, if you say like, "Oh yeah, I'm trans male," people that's when people start looking for things. They try to look for the established differences, and pretty much they try to find things that make you feminine, and it kind of ruins the whole image of being masculine. Um, so I kind of prefer not to be introduced as like, this is Ray, he's my trans friend, especially if it's a complete stranger who did not know me before my transition. So, I mean, I pass really easily, and I actually pass really easily pre-T and everything like that. And even as it is, I'm going on my third month, but I still got a couple more weeks until I'm actually at 3 months. So even at work and stuff like that, I pass really easily. So I kind of just, I tell people my name's Ray. I've had a couple people ask me like what Ray is short for, like trying to figure out if I have a feminine name or a masculine name. That's kind of their subtle way of asking me like if I'm a boy or a girl without, I guess, insulting me. So like, they'll like be like, "What's Ray short for?" And I'll be like, "Raymond." So automatically you're like, "Oh, this guy's name's Raymond, so he must be a guy." I've had one person in my entire work career directly ask me if I was a man or a woman, and I responded a man, and he's actually a regular at my job, like he's a regular customer. And ever since then, he's come in and called me sir and everything like that. He's never questioned it or anything like that. I mean, it is true when I say my name's Ray and I'm a man, so it says it on my license. It says it on my birth certificate, so it's like I can't, you know. I'm really good at binding, so it's not like it seems like, I'm just playing the part. I'm really good at um, creating that image. So introductions and meeting new people and just being in public is kind of easy for me. The only thing I have really bad anxiety and I'm still kind of working on is the public restroom. Strange places, I've had the confidence enough to go into the male's restroom, but I can't use the urinals. I have to go and use the stall. And even with my packer, I have to actually like practice peeing standing up. So I have a lot of anxiety about that. But I walk in with confidence because then people don't question you and they automatically think you're going into the stall for privacy or taking a dump or something like that. Especially if you're looking around like you're a tourist, that's kind of like a dead giveaway that you don't belong in the male's restroom. Um, the only problem I have a huge issue with is at work. Like, I still use the female's bathroom at work because when I started work, a lot of the male associates still think I'm a girl, and I don't really work with them often, so I can't like sit there and explain to them. However, a lot of the associates in my department that I work with are female, excluding a couple guys who know, but a majority of them are female, and they know my situation, and like even with knowing my situation, I still feel awkward if I like run into them in the females' bathroom. I kind of run in there and then run out. Um, but other than that, like they actually still call me he and things like that, and it's a really good environment, and I don't have difficulties with it. My managers call me he, and um, when I meet new people, I automatically go as Ray because that's who I am. Um, Troy's like shaking. He's cold. Um, I'm trying to think, like, relationships. I kind of didn't talk about relationships. Relationships. I'm having a partner. I actually just got out of a relationship. It's gotta be. It's going on 2 months. It hasn't been 2 months, but it's going on 2 months. And I mean, I learned a lot in my experience with my relationship. I actually went in as a trans male. Um, Came out as trans male. Um, she pretty much, I was friends with her before I started dating her, so she kind of knew my whole story. She always thought I was a guy, but then I had to tell her like I was born female, and then I told her I was trans male. So she was actually dating me as a trans male, and that kind of helped the relationship. I do find a lot of anxiety about dating chicks or meeting new chicks because I especially straight chicks who are just not open-minded. Like, you go through this whole anxiety of, like, should I tell them right away? Should I lie to them? But then at the same time, you still have those parts, so you can't, like, hook up with them or sleep with them or anything like that without explaining yourself. And that's probably the hardest part. So it's kind of really hard for me to hang out with my guy friends and go to bars and stuff and just pick up chicks because I have a lot of complications and anxiety about picking up chicks and all this stuff. And unfortunately, that's a problem that's not exactly fixable. Um, it's just something that you have to kind of decide whether or not you're going to tell people right away or if you're just going to wait till you can go stealth. And stealth is pretty much when you act your life as though you were always male. You don't really um, come out as transgender, and a lot of guys actually do that mainly just to escape the anxiety and the complications of having to explain themselves every time they want to be with someone. I do have a Packer, and it is equivalent to a real penis, and it has all the functions of a real penis too. And I mean, my anxiety about that is just more of I don't know how to use it fully and properly. So I kind of am not eager to use it. I mean, even with using the bathroom or sexual intercourse, I'm not too eager to use it, mainly because I need to learn how to. Um, and it's still in that practicing stages. And as I said, things sexually are very complicated because, especially if you're with someone who has no idea, you have such a hard time explaining yourself. And, by having to explain yourself and being honest, a lot of times, it's kind of like a hit or miss. Like, it can either be okay, it could be a new experience, they could be open-minded, or it can just completely just, like, blow up in your face, end of story. Um, Personally, I've never had experiences with just trying to pick up a new chick. Um, I've been through, I think, three relationships with a girl, and only two of them, well, two of them were kind of as a male mentality, but only one of them was actually as a trans male playing role of a man, like, the entire time. Like, I mean, the first relationship I was in was as a lesbian, and that kind of blew up. The second relationship I was in was as kind of like, I kept hopping over the line, and the third one I was just like, I came out, I was fully comfortable with who I was, and I actually started, like, trying to, um, be sexually active as a male, and be in a relationship as a male. Um, so it was very, as I said, it's very hard. You need to learn how to do it, and it's an experience because you're kind of not only learning how to be intimate with someone, you're learning how to use parts and participate, like, as a completely different role that you're not used to. Even if you've always been male up here and in your heart you've always been male, like, actually physically being male and doing things in masculine ways, it's a whole new experience, and you kind of need to educate yourself on and train yourself how to do it. Um, Pretty much, I mean, in my past experiences and hopefully in future partners, is that I can find someone who doesn't care if I still have certain parts. I mean, obviously, I don't like to be acknowledged or pleased by those parts, but someone who knows they're there and just doesn't give a crap. Um, who's willing to work with me and listen to me through my struggles, and someone who can also just treat me how I want to be treated, which is as a man, as Ray, and love me as Ray, because being trans is not who I am. It's just a part of who I am. It doesn't define who I am. It's just merely a medical complication with my gender. It has nothing to do with my personality or who I actually am as a person. Um, so, I mean, with relationships, I kind of want to find someone just as any guy would want to find someone. You find a girl who is pretty much going to be the second half of your world and just help put all the puzzle pieces together. And, obviously hard things come, and just someone who can get through obstacles with you and hardships with you. And, it being trans is really the tip of, like, the tip of an iceberg. It's not your entire world. I mean, it seems like that because it just creates so many, like, complications and anxieties and social issues. But once you actually finally start getting into that motion of being a full-time male, it kind of fades away. Like, the whole you being trans and having to deal with trans things slowly and subtly just goes down, and you just start worrying about normal problems like relationships and troubles at work and finding the right chick. So, I mean, I'm still on my journey. I'm not finished. I'm not even close. I'm not even post-op or anything like that. So it's like, obviously there are some things that I still need to acknowledge and deal with. Uh, but there's a lot more to relationships than just being transgender. um, Obviously, like, if I date her, I don't want her telling her parents, like, oh, this is Ray, he's my boyfriend, but he's trans. Because then, parents get skeptical, and that's when they try to find things that are feminine about you. And especially if your parents have issues with, things. I'd rather just have to deal with the heat as a guy, like, the overprotective father and the concerned mother. Because reality is that they don't have to know. I pass and they don't have to know. I don't like being introduced as trans because I am a male, and I'd rather just be perceived that way. I mean, if someone asks and they want to be educated, and I feel like maybe they actually need to be educated, and there's someone I'm actually pretty close to with, then yeah, I'll explain the whole story, but introducing me as trans is not what's the most interesting part about me. It's just a fact. Just one little fact that shouldn't merit my first impression. It's not about what to call me or how to be introduced. It's just, my name is Ray. Introduce me as Ray. and I'm your friend, I'm your boyfriend, and that's just how I should be introduced, and that's how I introduce myself. So I don't really introduce myself as being trans. I mean, have I told people? Yeah, I've explained to people, but I don't necessarily introduce myself that way. So that's kind of how I go about things. So that is my short segment for this week's topic. So Ray out.